Well, welcome everyone. Billy and I are here once again. How you doing, Billy?
I'm fabulous, Caleb. How are you?
I'm good. I'm a little busy. I don't
That's
know
the story
why.
of our lives. Can't
I
complain about
know.
that.
I know. Uh, Miss Firefly and I were just watching an episode of Yellowstone, and there was a little scene in there where two people were talking, and one person was staring out, and this person was saying, you stare out in space a lot." And the person said, "Well, I'm slow. There's a lot going on. I'm slowing the world down." The person said, "You can't slow the world down. There's no way you do that." And he said, "Yeah, you actually can. There's ways to do it." And I said, "Show me how to do that." And then Pink Firefly said, "Show me how to do that." We have very full lives.
I hear you, brother. I hear you. Never a dull moment. Even though it seems like there might be, we live in far-flung places, we work a lot, but we work on so many cool things.
I know.
I can't stop.
I will never stop. I'll cut back, but I'll never stop.
Agreed.
Um, it has come to my attention that a lot of guys in the audience, guys and gals in the audience, are like surprised at me working with you. Why am I working with you? Why do you work with me? Why is some chick running my company? Although technically you're not running the business anymore. Now you're running the coaching operation, which is where we both want. It's actually better.
Yeah.
And so we should probably talk about that. I have gone over, you know what? Maybe I have never sat down and said, okay, here's actually how I met Billy. Here's how I hired Billy. Here's what Billy did. Maybe we haven't done that in these podcasts, have we? Maybe we haven't done that.
I don't think we've ever done that, period. Even the staff isn't exactly sure. And as new people come on, they're like, how did you combine? People are
I didn't even put that when you mentioned that earlier. I'm like, didn't we talk about that? Maybe we haven't. When did we start working together? 18? I want to say 18. Summer of 18.
Yeah, it must have been spring, April. I remember that.
Okay. April. Interesting. So that was before I made some decisions.
Did you never wonder why I always send you a little weird thing on our work anniversary?
No, I'm too dumb. That's kind of stuff goes right over my head. I drive my wife insane with that stuff. Do you send me something on our work anniversary?
Yeah, every single year.
You mean like over base camp, or do you physically mail me something?
No, I've often sent you a gift or an experience, like when you lived at home. That's
my. Well, you know what? But my work anniversary is also my birthday. I figured out my birthday because my birthday
is really close. Yeah, it is really close.
That's probably why I didn't put it together. Okay, so it's April of 2018.
Yes, and I always send. Yeah, I do have it scheduled in Basecamp and in my calendar. So I.
My God, you're so much more organized.
Happy anniversary, Caleb.
Okay, all right.
I'm so delighted that we know each other.
So we're coming up on 5 years. God damn, we're old. Really?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus.
It's flown by. It's hard to wrap my brain around that.
Oh, Christ, it has flown by. But that's what happens when you live lives like us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so some of this I have told my audience. So some of you people in my audience will know part of the story. What I had to do, and I think I've told you this, Billy. Maybe I haven't. I think I expressed it to you a long time ago. In 2018, I thought it was the summer, but maybe it was shortly after I hired Billy. That's possible. I had to make a big life decision in 2018. And I was making, I wasn't making what I'm making now, but I was making a strong 6-figure income. I was doing really well, living in a nice house, and, wife and I were happy, and, everything was great. And I said, okay, I have a decision to make. I can just ride out this income. I can just kind of lock this down and just maintain this income and do this kind of for the rest of my life. And cut back on my hours and maybe, look at other businesses or write some fiction or just kind of not retire, but just ride out this income, just write it out and not really go for the big money, which was the other decision. Or I could go for the big money, which means I'd have to work hard. I'd have to pull money out of my investments and put it into my business, which I did. I'd have to hire some people. I'd have to scale the company. I'd have to, it would have to change the nature of what I was doing. I'd have to continue to work hard. And it took me I usually make decisions pretty quickly, but this was a hard one. It took me about 2 months of really soul searching and thinking about it and writing it out and reviewing my mission, reviewing my goals, because I always go back to my mission, my vision, my goals. And I finally made a decision no, I'm going to go for the big money. And one of the reasons I made that decision was, many of you know this, I have a part 2 of my mission kicks in when I'm 54 years old. And so 2018, I was what, 47-ish, whatever I was, 46, I forget. And so I said, well, I got another, whatever, 6, 7, 8 years of hard grinding. So why don't I reevaluate this when I'm 54 and go, I might as well go for the big money. If I'm going to work and continue this phase of my life, this empire building phase, what I call it, until I'm 54, why not go for the big, why not do that? And I had to ask myself, do I have the ability to make the big money? I had to really think about that. The answer is yes, but it took me a few months to say, do I? So yeah, I do. So when I made that decision, I knew that I had to back off on the operations of the business, and I had to have help scaling. Plus, I also knew that I really needed help with projects, and that is actually where Billie came in. So I wasn't thinking of like a CEO to run my business or a manager or any of that stuff. I was actually thinking of a project manager. You might recall this, but we first started talking. I was looking for someone where I could say, here are my projects, just manage these projects, not the business. You manage the projects. And so I went on Upwork, right? I found you on Upwork, didn't I? And
it was a profile that I used it 10 years ago. I have no idea how you even found it.
Yeah, this is where it gets weird and spiritual and like God and the universe. Because you weren't even active on the profile, right?
I hadn't been for years. I just used it. Originally, years and years ago, I used Upwork. And before that, it had a different name. I think it was Elance or Odest. I've done one of those. Yeah. And then transitioned. But I'd been using Upwork. At the time I met you, I'd been using Upwork for 3 or 4 years only for hiring people. I'm not an asset you can hire on that platform.
Isn't that funny? Right. And for some reason, I must have done a search on project managers, project management, things like that. I got a bunch of people, looked at a bunch of profiles. I found about 3 or 4 that I liked. You were one of 3 or 4. Contacted a few people, contacted you. And then, so I've talked about this, the rule of 3. The rule of 3 is whenever you hire someone key, like an attorney, an accountant, someone on your team, a therapist, a marriage counselor, doesn't matter who it is, okay? You hire that person and you assume that person's going to suck. You assume it from the beginning. And if that person doesn't work out, and statistically they probably won't, you fire them and then you hire the next person and you assume that person's going to suck. And then when they suck, you fire them and you get the third person will work. Now, sometimes you don't have to fire the first or second person. Sometimes you're lucky the first person works out or the second person works out, but then you celebrate. Instead of what most people do, right, Billie, is they hire the person and they go, thank God I found somebody. It's like getting married. Thank God I'm done. This is perfect now forever. The person does work out and the guy's furious. People just, if this bullet spilling this money, like, no, you have to assume in advance it won't work out. That's just how this works.
Yeah.
Right.
I approach it a little bit differently, right? So I approach it with every person's going to work out, but I need to be immediately ready if they don't, and have a backup plan instantly.
Yeah, that's another way.
The outcome is the same.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, right. Although you're more optimistic than I assume people aren't going to work out, and if they don't, they go, okay. So you're actually more optimistic.
I want them to, but if they show me they're not going to, then I'm freaking mercenary about it.
Right, right. But see, I actively assume that they won't. I would like them to work out too, but I know, the odds are this person's going to work. But sometimes I'm wrong, and that's the beauty of this. And sometimes the first person you hire works out. And so amazingly, to me, I hired you, and you more than worked out. And I was like, oh, this is cool. This is one of the times where the rule of 3 doesn't apply. The first time I got lucky. And then see, that was, so you're saying that was April of 2018. That's around when I made this decision. Matter of fact, I made this decision shortly after that. Oh, that makes sense, because I brought you on as a project manager. And then as you and I got closer together in terms of how we worked, then I handed you, I don't remember when I made that transition.
I think it was
that 2019 when I said, just run the business for me?
No, that was within maybe 6 weeks of meeting.
Briefly. Okay.
When we started talking, and I said, actually, this isn't what I do. I was just really interested in what you're doing, because it's a fascinating study, something I've never participated in, especially with the alpha male vibe, really outside of my wheelhouse, but I thought it was cool. And I said, hey, actually, what I do for real is this. And you said, oh, okay, let's scale the company. Let's go.
Well, let me ask you about that, because
weird.
Back in 2018, Sovereign CEO wasn't even a brand yet. It was all Alpha Male 2.0. I had some business products, but that's when I had just started doing business products. I think the business course I launched that year, I think, or maybe just before that.
I think it was just before I met you.
I think you're right. It was just before that. And I did very well with that. I made a lot of money with that. So I said, oh, okay. And that's why I thought, well, I could just write out. That was what started that decision. But you do not agree with a lot of my Alpha Male 2.0 stuff.
Not for my own personal use, no.
Okay. But what about, but like philosophically, you don't, but you still wanted to work with me anyway. So talk about that.
I looked you up, I checked you out and scoped your material long before we spoke.
As you should.
The rhythm was really fast. I mean, you messaged me. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? Why does he want to work?
That's funny.
Not available. Yeah. And then I checked out your material and went, what the hell is this? This is fascinating.
Yeah.
It's not entirely for me, but I agree with a lot of it. The way I describe the company for the first few years we worked together is I work for this dude company, and it's about 80% of it I agree with, and 20% of it is pure and utter douchebaggery. I didn't tell people the name of the business. Like, I really kept myself. And to this day, most of my friends and family have no idea what the name of your other business is, the Alpha Male side. And I don't care if they know. It's just it's not reflective of me as an individual, right? So the open relationship thing to me is just fucking disgusting and gross and gives me the heebie-jeebies, because all I think about are STDs and all the nasty shit that you're giving me, or that you want to pass around. So to me, it's just kind of gross, and I don't feel that's not safe. But at the same time, I feel like whatever works for you in your life should be what you're fucking allowed to do, as long as you're not hurting or deceiving other people. Right. So if you're honest, and that's what you preach, Caleb, that's why you and I get on so well, is that we're really blunt with our opinions. We don't candy coat it. And we say, this isn't for everyone. And I fucking care if it's not for you, because it's right for me. And as a tree-hugging liberal son of a bitch, I'm the person who says, love whom you want, screw whom you want, enjoy your life the way that it makes sense for you to live it, because my opinion of you shouldn't matter to you. Your opinion of
you're not as liberal as you. You're not as liberal as you.
Not entirely, but I am when it comes to these social issues. Certainly,
yeah, socially you are. That's accurate. That's
I am a capitalist, and I'm growing more into that as I grow older. And
I think you're there. I think you arrived, sweetie.
Oh, yes,
I think you're there.
So
I think you graduated to
capitalism.
Capitalism advocate.
But when it comes to social issues and personal issues like that, it's not my decision. A lot of people are happy in polyamorous relationships. I have friends who are, one of my closest friends since I was 18 years old is a non-monogamous man. And he's one of the people that I esteem most in the world. Would I be engaged with him sexually? No. He's attractive. He's lovely. I trust him. It's just, that aspect of his life is not for me. And that's okay. It doesn't devalue our relationship. And that's the same with you and I. In fact, I think it's really interesting because you and I have really funny arguments, and we kind of rib each other and tease each other. I tell you that you're loose. You tell me I'm a square, and we're both right. But that doesn't change our relationships. Those differences of opinion have no place in our working relationships.
Well, that's interesting is, and I've talked about this this is a Sovereign CEO podcast, but over in my Alpha Male 2.0 stuff, those of you who are familiar with that, I talk about how the opposite of my target market are women over the age of 33. And so often throughout there she is. And so there she sits. So the last 15 years, we talk about this, the people who generally get the most angry at my dating content, who stumble across my content and don't have my context. So it's a little different when someone looks into my stuff, actually reads some articles and watches some videos and actually learn, then they're not quite as angry. But when they stumble across me specifically because of my tone and my, I'm a little abrasive and I'm blunt, are always women over the age 33. And I've had trouble in the past working with women who are over 33 because in that alpha male tupido who were close to material. For example, I may have told you this years ago before you, I was working with a proofreader for my blogs. And she was a woman in her 40s, married, normal woman in her 40s. And we were really good friends and she was very good at her job, but she would edit, and my business stuff, she loved that. Yeah. Five Flag stuff, and even some of my political stuff she thought was great. But as soon as I started talking about dating, relationships, women, she would lose her mind and she'd just go crazy. And she would put little notes next to her edits, like, I can't fucking believe it. And finally I had to let her go. I said, this isn't for you. You're too angry. This is just, the material was too close to her work. And for some reason, you were able to, and a lot of people can, a lot of people can't, you're able to separate the 20% you don't like from the work, from the aspect of your work. You were able to do that where a lot of people can't do that.
Not only can I separate it, but I'll be honest, I think it's hilarious as hell. I think that the whole red pill pickup artist manosphere is fucking ridiculous.
The way you say it is so funny. Manosphere.
It's just fucking dumb. It's a lot of toxic masculinity, a lot of like usury behavior. And
well, I agree with that.
That you bring to the mix is exactly that. You're like, hey, just be really open, be really honest. Yeah. Set your goals. If your ambition is to have multiple partners every day for the rest of your life, that's awesome. Do your thing. Harm no one. That's fine. But I actually do get a kick out of it. I laugh at a lot of stuff that I hear and read. And for me, as an older woman, it's entertaining as hell. But
I have women in my audience who say the same thing. And matter of fact, some of the women some of those women women in my audience who go, this is great. They may not practice it. Matter of fact, most of them don't practice it, but they like listening to it.
Right. I mean, we're like, we roll our eyes a lot and say, man, there are some things that you're really missing here. But
I can only imagine, I've told you this, I can only imagine the conversations with 2 or 3 women you and I both know and work with who are familiar with my content. I'm like, I can only imagine the conversations you women have when I'm not in the room about my content, about my dating content.
We really
I've heard some of it from like my wife and, various other people, but yeah, it's great.
We don't, you'd be surprised. We don't actually talk about it much. The only time we talk about it is when I edited your book years ago.
Which book?
Dating younger women. Our editor had gotten sick. It was over Christmas or Thanksgiving.
I vaguely remember that. Yes.
Maybe 3 years ago. No,
yeah, I vaguely remember that. We had an editor who did half of it. You had to finish it up. I remember that. Yep. Yeah.
And so there were some things in the book that I edited. It's like, if a woman is over 35 and she says she's not interested in hookups, don't listen to her. And I changed it. I'm like, if it's a woman who's over 40 and tells you she doesn't want to hook up, she probably doesn't. Piss off. And I told you about that. You're like, no, you're not putting that in my book.
No, wait. No, we agree on that. You're misquoting me. I agree with that statement.
Right. So at any rate, we there were some disagreements and I made some little tweaks and you and I talked about it and you're like, okay. And in other cases, you're like, you're such an ass, Billy. You can't put that in my book. That's not what I sound like. I would never say that.
Oh, right. You're putting woman language into a Caleb book, which doesn't work. Yes. Yes.
But
I've had several women in my past. You should say this. That's woman language and that's not me. Sorry. Go start your own business. Yes, I know exactly. I vaguely remember some of those things. Yes, right.
And I think but that's
of all books for you to edit. How men can date much younger women would be the one that would probably be least.
Well, it's the funniest to me. It's absolutely hilarious because I have never been into old dudes. I have no idea why any young girl would be interested in any 30 or 40-year-old old dude. Yuck. I date 10 or 15 years younger. I know you do. Dude.
You date younger guys. I know that. When you were younger, did you date younger guys?
I dated my age or maybe very close to my age or a couple years older.
So you've never dated more than like 3 or 4 years older than you?
No, because why? Why would I want an old man?
Wow. See, that's very different. You're unusual. Most women want someone who's older. I mean, not way older.
I have never had any desire for that. I don't want
so funny.
The older men get, the more opinionated, and this is the same for women. I'm not busting balls here. The older people get, the more opinionated they get. More set in their ways. And oftentimes, I mean, try finding a guy over 30 that doesn't have kids. Because I'm allergic. You know, if I were to, you know, if I have
partner, that's another thing. Well, older guys have kids who are grown and gone.
Like but they still have kids. Like it's just an unrelatable.
I see.
It's unrelatable for me. I know, you know, and I don't want somebody's 20-year-old kid coming up and saying, "Oh, this is my stepmom." What the fuck are you talking about? No, I'm not. I just met you. Like,
oh my God, you're so funny.
So for me, it's like, younger, really, really hyper.
Well, then you completely related to my book about how men want to date younger women. You totally related. There you go. Great.
Because your book is based on just physicality. And I'm a sapiosexual, so I'm attracted to intelligence. I have to be like very attracted to someone's level of intelligence before I have any degree of like sexual.
Yeah, that's not unusual. That's not unusual at all. Right.
I'm talking like Sheldon Cooper from the big
I know. I know you. Yeah, I know what you like. Yeah.
Like that's intensely intelligent people. So you know, we come from completely different perspectives. But that's what's so entertaining. Again, like I'll never understand a young woman who wants an old guy. I'll never understand what an old dude wants in some 20-year-old chick who has
what he wants.
Nothing other than a body, like a warm body and orifice.
Well, that's about it. That's about it.
Like it's just laughable to me. The whole construct is funny as hell.
It's called human behavior.
Yeah. It's great. I love being neurodivergent and having totally different triggers than like the mainstream audience, especially a male audience, because I can sit back and just laugh at all of us, myself included, on a very regular basis.
So let's get back to the main story here. So because I want to answer the question, who is this person and why is she working for me and why do you work for me? All those questions. You ran my business for a good 3 years or so. And then we made the transition, and it was a little messy transition because we didn't really know, at least I didn't know what we were doing for a while, like last year. Or maybe early last year.
Yeah, things
we didn't really figure this out till like mid last year, right?
Agreed. Right? Yeah, things were a little bit in limbo because again, you were at another crossroad. What direction?
Yes, again,
we've scaled the business. We have all the staff. We have a huge audience, comparatively speaking.
Right. So to Billie's point, just so you guys know, I went from I think 3 or 4 people when I hired you, and now we're up to. Are we over 20 now?
Yeah, we're at like 21 or 22, and we just got another team member added in Lebanon last night.
And that's just in my Sovereign CEO Alpha 2.0 business. No one Billie works with has anything to do with my other 2 companies. One of them is kind of being shut down, and I was going to merge them, and I went, I'm too scared. I'm still too scared. So for the moment, they're separate, but that's just in one business. And so it worked. So the scaling worked. Holy shit. In terms of gross income went up and all that stuff. It's been crazy. Crazy good. But then with growth comes new problems.
Right. And the only reason we had that, we had those conversations that switched me from someone who was like, I'll help you with a couple projects just to get a little knowledge of you, to, hey, why don't you run the business? Is I've done this before. I've built and run businesses for owners all, in multiple states, a couple of different countries. Right. And I've also scaled businesses for dozens of people.
And I remember you saying that to me. I went, once I made this decision, because this was just magical timing on our part. I had made the decision. And then you're talking about scaling. I'm like, that's what I want. Go do it. Go do it. Do it. Yeah, I remember that. I remember some of that. It was around, mid 2018. Right. So now what you do is you are in charge of the entire coaching function of Sovereign CEO / Alpha Male 2.0. There's some overlap there. And we have, how many coaches do we have now?
Oh boy. We keep adding
the number?
Them.
Is it like 17?
We're at like 11 right now.
We have more than that.
Well, we have, that's right. We have
Well, we have some on my side. Most are under your side. We've got about 11 on my side. I got about 3 or 4.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly. Yep.
And when I say my side, her side, she owns her one of her companies is Boss Cooperative, which is a coaching business. That's what it does. And so she's under that umbrella. We have coaches on that umbrella who service people in, let's see, the programs we have: the Unchained Man Society, UMS, the 90-Day Business Builder, the 500K Business Accelerator, and then the Authorized Coaching. So that's one-off coaching, plus other spin-offs from these services where we do one-on-one coaching. So Billie is in charge of, not only does she do a lot of the coaching and put on a lot of the seminars and a lot of the online trainings we have, because she follows all the business stuff I talk about: location dependent, strong 6-figure income. She does all that stuff, multiple income streams, multiple businesses. She is one of the perfect examples of what I talk about and what I've been talking about for years. And so she is eminently qualified, one of the few people qualified to talk about my stuff. What's that?
Right. When I came into the relationship knowing we had that commonality.
Right.
And knowing that our business voices were really similar.
Right.
So it was all about just letting each other explore that and run with it. I think that got us to this point.
Right. So not only does she do the coaching, but she also manages the other coaches who are more specialized. So we have marketing coaches, we have meditation coaches, we have a few fitness coaches. There's a cat behind you.
That's Una Mellon.
Hi, kitty.
She's my supervisor.
I see her tail now. I'm just gonna watch her cat all the time. I wish I had a cat. I travel too much.
Sounds great.
Oh, you got a nice kitty. See, I wish I had a cat, but that's one of the things I've had to give up for my international 5 flags lifestyle. I can't have a pet, but I would have a cat if I had a normal life, which I'll probably never have. I would have a cat. Had a cat for years when I was younger.
Again, I have 2 cats and 2 dogs. So
I know you have a zoo in there. I know.
4 animals is not a zoo.
Well, yes, it is. Oh, shoot me in the goddamn head. I love animals, love cats, love dogs. Just too much work. Well, but I'm in a different scenario. I travel a lot, so it's,
I have really good dog sitters too. In fact, they pick my dogs up every Tuesday night now, and they keep them all day Wednesday, and they'll bring them home tonight.
Oh, that's cool. So you have like a work day?
Every single week I have like a day off of the dog.
A mom day.
Exactly. And they get to go spend time they love the dog sitter couple that we have. They have a big fence yard. They take them to the dog park, take them on walks. They love these people.
God, my wife would never do that with her dog. Hey, just take your dog to the dog sitter for a day and have a day off. No. It's so funny how different dog owners, but I guess it's different when you have one small dog versus 2 dogs and 2 cats. And you have big dogs too.
Well, and I have to do podcasts, and I have a bunch of coaching calls on days like today. So the last thing I need is if a postman comes to the door, or a vehicle happens past, because there are so few of them in the winter on my road that the dogs lose their minds. It's just so much easier to do my recording when they're not here and give myself a break. And my doctors bring me food, by the way. Last night they brought me homemade lasagna and salad and rolls.
You're way too spoiled.
I know.
Yeah, that's not fair. I'm pretty spoiled, though. I shouldn't complain. I live a pretty good life. Anyway. Some guys, men in particular, may be asking, why do I work with a woman? And why do I have a woman in such a key position? I've never been asked that question directly, but I'm sure some people are thinking it. You have? Okay. Yeah. Isn't that funny? They'll ask you, but they won't ask me. It's one of those scenarios. See, so here's the scenario in our company. If there's bad news, very rarely do people want to tell the big boss, even though I'm a nice boss. I'm nice and I don't get mad. No one wants to tell me. They tell Billie. They tell each other, but they don't tell me. And I find out, I'm like, So it's the same kind of thing. My clients and customers, they won't ask me, why the hell is Caleb working with a woman? But they'll ask you, so why is Caleb? How do they ask? What do they say? What do they say?
I always get that. How did you and Caleb get connected?
Yeah, okay. All right. Like, what the fuck? Yeah.
And it's like, well, you're so different. And I'm like, no, we're actually really, really.
But we're not.
We're similar.
We're not different.
People really realize. Yeah.
Right. We're not actually.
No, I tell people that you're like a sibling. We understand each other that well and play off each other that well and argue with one another in the same way.
Yeah.
And it's very much, it's like we were born. Yeah.
I was just telling my mom when I was talking to her about you a few days ago, that you're like a sister now. And so Mom, you could just kind of talk to Billie like she's, like she's my sister. It's not a big deal.
It's funny because I sent your mom a text message yesterday saying, "Hey, I heard you had a little incident. Hope you're feeling great. See you soon."
Did she reply? She's still in the hospital.
Yeah.
Long story. I'll talk about this on other podcasts. Did she reply
told me
or
I
no?
was sweet.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Cute. That's very nice. My mom's a sweetheart. That's funny. Okay. So why am I working with a woman? So now that people ask this question, but they think it and they don't ask me, or they ask my other people on my team. I've mentioned this in either a YouTube short or YouTube video. I've mentioned this. I'm results oriented. I don't care how it gets done as long as it gets done. So I don't care how old the person is who gets it done. We have someone in our team. Let's not mention names. I have someone on my team, and I didn't know this until recently, who is 19 years old. I went, what? Someone you don't know?
Oh.
Let's not say names.
No, you're gonna have to message me in the chat or something, because I think
the name of the person's name starts with R.
Shut up.
19.
R-O?
I think she just turned 20. So female 19-year-old.
She is so talented. I would never have guessed that age.
Exactly. Precisely. And we have,
I hired her, by the way, and I had no idea.
Yeah, isn't that funny? No, I've been working with her for years. I had no idea. I don't fucking know. We have someone else who is 20, who has a relatively key position in our marketing stuff. So anyway, and then we have us old people. I must be the oldest person.
No,
Keith is old. Isn't Keith older than me?
Yep.
Is Keith older?
Keith so Keith,
but he's only a year or two older. He's not older.
But I mean, we cover the gamut from 20s to 50s.
Right. So here's my thing. I don't care how old the person is who gets the result done. I don't care if it's a man or a woman. I don't care if it's a liberal or conservative or a libertarian, because people will say, well, do you work with, you're a hardcore libertarian. Do you work with like left wingers and leftists and feminists? Do you work with like right wing traditional Christians? And I don't give a shit. As long as the person doesn't cause problems in the business and the person gets the work done, I don't care. This is not like, well, I want my employees to be this particular type of person, or I don't know, God damn it. I don't make decisions philosophically like this. I'm results oriented. So if Billie gets the job done, and she does, I don't give a shit if she's man, woman, or otherwise. I don't care. It's not a concern I have. And I think too many people, especially today in the United States in particular, are too wound up in their little boxes. I'm in this box. I like these people. I don't like those people. I'm not talking about race. I'm talking about gender, age, politics, tribalism. Tribalism's gone crazy in the world, particularly in the United States and Canada. And it's stupid. And it should be the merit. I want to give a speech about the merits of the person, all that crap, and the character of the person, not the color of their skin. It's, does the person get the job done that I want? Does the person get it done on time and correctly? That's Alpha Male 2.0 in a heartbeat. I did a podcast on having an Alpha Male 2.0 boss versus an Alpha Male 1.0 boss. And the Alpha Male 1.0 tells you exactly how to do it and exactly how to do it and how to dot the I's and cross the T's. And he's constantly checking in on you. And where are we on this? I need to get this done. And he's constantly on your ass. And the Alpha Male 2.0 boss says, here's what I want done. Here's when I want it done by. Here's what I want. I don't care how it gets done. I just want it done. Let me know if you have questions. Bye. And then he doesn't bother you until the end. And he asks you if it's done or not. And if it's done, I don't care. So I don't make, in other words, I don't make business decisions philosophically. I make them financially. And you know, Billie, I make business decisions based on numbers and spreadsheets, not my feelings, not my opinions, not my philosophies. I look at the numbers and I let the numbers tell me what my options are. And that's it. Rarely do I go outside of that. So that's why I'm working with a woman. Plus, Billie's not the only woman. I mean, we have on the key team, we have at least one more woman.
Mm-hmm. Well,
on your team, you have a woman who's very important.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely. We have a couple of women that are really important in the coaching team that give us that, that help us create that network to surround our entrepreneurs with all of the different skill sets that they might need, as they're going through their growth and their business development, whatever it is. So we have key, women in key roles where they can make the greatest contribution. And we have make the greater contribution in that role, then he's the guy who gets it.
Right. Who cares? And what's interesting is we've had, I just thought of two things. In terms of our woman coaches, we've had phenomenal results with the woman coaches coaching the guys, the one-on-one coaching. Like what the hell? Like guys are like, oh, I need to talk to her again. So in the 500K program, you can select which coaches you want for multiple sessions. It's kind of like a menu, and you just pick who you want. And we've had a number of guys with the female coaches go, holy crap, she was awesome. I want to see her again. Or like they do a half an hour session and they end up talking like 2.5. One guy was like 2.5 hours or something. Crazy. So they're very effective, number one. Number two is, I don't even know if I want to say this, but I'll say it. So we have the current iteration is the 500K Business Accelerator program. That's our big annual program. That's our highest end program right now. It's a whole year you work with us one-on-one. Okay. Before that, it was called Six Figure Warrior Mentorship. Before that, it was called the Focus Program. We've done it for about 4 or 5 years now. And every time we've done it so far, and Billy will back this up, the top performing people in the group, usually we have a group of about 20, 25 people, right?
Somewhere between,
sometimes more than that.
20 and 30.
Yeah, between 20 and 30. Okay. It grows. It grows every year. But the top, 5, 6, 7 people at the end of the year who have accomplished the most, let me back up. Usually in this group of between 20 and 30, we have one woman. Usually it's just one, right? Not a lot of women, but we get some. So we have one woman and like 24 dudes, okay? At the end of the year, the top performing 5, 6, 7 people of that group always includes the one woman. Every year. Mm-hmm. There's not been a year that has not occurred. It's crazy.
It's phenomenal. And
so again, I don't care.
No, I don't either, because they're the individuals who make the greatest efforts to connect with the other members and keep our message boards and those group discussions really lively.
That's true. That's also true.
For whatever reason, the women are driving that, even though there's only one of them in a group of 25 or 30 dudes.
It's so funny. And it's happened like 3 times in a row now. Yeah. We all laugh. This is so hilarious. Yeah. And I don't know if that has to do with my anecdote. I've mentioned this before, my anecdotal experience in my business career going back, 25 years. I have found that the women, I've said this before, the women I have worked, and you're in this category, Billy, the women I've worked with who really made a decision to be successful financially in business always make way more money than the typical guy in terms of what they're doing. They're always in the highest income levels, far beyond the men at that level when they make that decision. Now, most women I have found don't make that decision. I don't know if you found this. They don't make the decision to be successful and kick ass and go make a lot of money. But the ones who do tend to do really well as compared to the men at their level. I've seen this over and over and over again. So it's just another example of that. And I don't know if that has to do with, if you're a woman, you have to try harder in a man's world, or I don't know anything about that.
I think you have to I think in order to get any credibility, you have to outperform your male peers by 30 to 40%.
That's about, that's kind of about what I think you're right. That's probably about right. Yeah.
And that's okay. I'm up for it.
You've already done it. You're already there.
But that's the thing. You and I came into the relationship with these exact same ideals about how to be how an Alpha 2.0 company runs is the same way that a Billy Olds company runs.
Right.
I don't need to micromanage. What I need to do is find brilliant people and help them to grow and to grow the business. That's my role. My role isn't to be a freaking babysitter. If I wanted to be, I'd have a childcare center or pop out a few kids of my own. Like, I don't want to babysit people.
Why don't you want a childcare center? You'd love that.
I'd love that if I could live about 600 miles away.
Oh, that'd be hilarious watching a bunch of kids.
Yeah, I'm good with other people's kids.
Yeah, I know the type.
Give them home. Give them back so they can go home.
Right. Yeah.
Kids
I'm waiting for grandkids. It's gonna be a while, but I'm waiting for grandkids. That'll be awesome.
I'm just waiting. My brother and sister both have 3 kids, so I'm set.
So you're good to go. Yeah.
Yep.
Are you auntie? What are you? Are you auntie?
I'm Auntie Billy. Mm-hmm.
Auntie Billy. Yeah.
And so a lot of my friends' children call me Auntie Billy too, because I take the kids adventuring, and I'm definitely not your typical sit on your ass, talk about children and clothes and nails. And I'm a get shit done, go out and see the world, and experience it kind of person. And that shows through in my business, in my coaching, and in those relationships, even with kids in my life. They think I'm the fun one who does weird things with them that other adults would never think of. So it's a great position to be in. Right. And then I send them home and give them loud toys and sugar. I don't do that in business, but we set people up for those same successes, Caleb. I think that's the guiding principle behind everything that you and I do. is that we understand how to lead and not babysit, and to give people opportunity so that we can grow. Because when you stifle that opportunity, nothing positive comes. And that's where we're both open to ideas, and we put our egos aside and say, what we're doing is in the best, I can't think of the word in English.
Stuff. The best what? The best book? Well, I'll save you.
Yeah.
There's a cool cartoon on the internet. I should go grab it one of these days and stick it on my website. It shows a picture of a bunch of slaves like moving some rocks, and on top is a throne and a guy sitting and pointing, going forward, and it says boss. And then below that, it shows a guy in the front pulling the rocks, and he's in the front pulling the most, and everyone's behind him, and it says leader. So it's something like that.
It is. And because we both have that mentality, we have never run into a staff member ever who has said, that's not my job, or I'm not going to do that.
I think you're right. Yeah,
We've never, because those are the people I cut those cancers out as quickly as they appear.
You're right. I don't think I don't think they would say that to me again, but you're right. I don't think we've ever had that ever. No. Ever. Yeah, I think you're right. In 5 years, I think you're right about that. And I've certainly had that in other companies that I have worked with, and other companies I have owned. I have had that problem. Well, that's not my job. Yeah. Some of the best companies have this rule. I think it's FedEx is one of them, where, and then I got to wrap this up soon, but where they say it's a customer service thing. Whoever gets the problem from the customer, no matter who, even if it's a senior vice president, you own the problem. You cannot say it's not my job. You cannot say it's not my department, even if it has nothing to do with your department. You have to send it off, and you have to follow up to make sure it was done, because you own the problem. If the problem comes in your hand, you own it, period. It's neat.
I love that ethos. And that's something that we planted, that we both live with. Neither one of us ever says, I'm too important to do that. We say, okay, let me get it done. Let me help you with that.
Right.
And that's, I think, why we work together so well, Caleb, is that neither one of us will ever come to the other and say, that's beneath me. I don't want to do that.
No, I wouldn't even come that. We wouldn't even think that thought.
No, never.
Yeah.
Never. So when Caleb says to me, hey, I need to do some really weird thing, can you find me, X resource?
Yeah, which I've done.
I never say no, because the reality is we have the same goal. I just want to knock things out, get it done. If it makes sense to delegate, we will. But our egos we've never have a battle of egos, even though we're both very successful, and people that are positioned in a leadership role. We just don't have that obnoxious ego crap going on.
No, we never had that. It's interesting. We have the opposite problem, at least on me to you. I have told you, you shouldn't do certain things because I consider them too low for you. And sometimes you've agreed, sometimes you've disagreed, but we've had the opposite problem where you'll do it. And I'll say, well, you shouldn't do that. You should be doing this big shit. This is little, you shouldn't be doing that. And you go, sometimes it depends on the item. Sometimes you go, yeah, you're right. But other times you're like, no, I like that. I'm like, all right, weirdo, go ahead.
There are certain things that I curate and keep to myself, like event planning. There's no reason on earth I can do that, but I love it more than anything. It's to me, it's just a really fun little puzzle and a great thought exercise. So there are things like that I get to keep because I want to do it because it's fun.
Right.
And it gives me great ideas for my next trip or the next crazy thing you and I will do together.
Right.
So again, we don't say no, but we could.
Right. Well, you and I both have meetings.
Yes.
You guys watching or listening, depending if you're listening to this or watching this, be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like if this is on the platform that you're listening to or watching to make sure you get more of these, because we do these every week. And if you have any interest in joining any of our coaching programs, as of the date you're watching this, they are now open. So 90-Day Business Builder is at 90daybiz, builder.com. That's a 3-month program where we build your business for you within 90 days. We actually hold your hand and walk through the process. Billie is intimately involved in that. And then we have for a little more money, but it's an entire year and you get literally everything I've ever written or designed as soon as you sign up, all my courses, books, everything. That is the 500K Business Accelerator program, where it's pure one-on-one coaching for an entire year. Something like 35 one-on-one coaching sessions over a course of a year, plus a bunch of other stuff. We work directly with you one-on-one, me and Billy and a whole bunch of other coaches. That is at 500k, 500k.io. If you are at all interested, both those programs are open now. Any parting words?
Thank you all for joining us. Definitely hit that like and subscribe. Please also leave your comments below. If there's a topic that you'd like us to discuss or any questions that you have, we're very candid and we're happy to answer them. So please leave those in the comments below for us.
And Billy has been known to answer comments. She reads the comments on these and she will answer them. Depending what platform you're on, certainly YouTube and a few others, but certainly YouTube, yes. And also, I'm going to reiterate, suggestions for topics. Usually Billy and I don't have a problem with this, but if we see the same suggestions come up and over, we'll do it. We'll do a whole podcast on your suggestions. So suggestions would be cool. Cool. All right. Well, thank you, ma'am. It's been great.
Thank you, sir. Fun. Thanks everyone for joining us. We'll see you next time.
See you guys.